Hey everyone, welcome to Marketing Monday with the Watertown Oswego SBDC, where we actually are live today. Erica, long time
Yay!
no see.
Live again.
Yeah,
How are
yeah.
you, Nicole?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Enjoying summer.
Absolutely. So before we get started with our very summary topic, do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on with the SDVDC? Oh, and I see Liz is joining us too, so I'll add her in. Hi, Liz. Oh,
Oh, good.
I don't think she see. Oh yeah, she says 1 minute. All right. So I'm gonna let you talk, Erica, because you know all the
Okay.
things at the SBDC.
Sure. I will do that. I may have to have Liz chime in here on a deadline date, but I do want to mention. Hey, Liz.
Hey guys.
Um, I do want to mention we've got a couple things going on, even though it's summertime. We've got some programming happening still. We have a food venture boot camp that's happening. We've only got a couple spots left. Is that right, Liz?
Two spots left.
Spots left, right? And this is, for serious applicants who are looking to expand their food business or get into, wholesaling, packaging, those kinds of things. Very intensive program starting July 11th.
11th, Monday the 11th. Yep.
Right,
9
exactly.
to 11:30 Mondays and Wednesdays.
Yeah.
For
I want to
12
mention
sessions. 12 sessions.
Right. So anyway, we just wanted to mention it quickly. You can go to our Facebook page to get more information on it. And I also wanted to mention too, starting mid-July, we're doing a little sort of video series live Facebook on cybersecurity too for small business. So that's happening starting I think July 13th on Facebook Live. Wednesday at 12 noon, we'll have a series about four videos from Mike Davis, who is an IT expert who will be joining us at the end to do some live Q&A too for any of you who are interested in that topic, and we all should be. So anything else to say about that, Liz?
Well, it's sort of a mini series, right? So it's it's these are just short 15-minute and time for questions so that, and we're talking about cybersecurity topics of broad interest really to everyone, because I don't know about you, but does anybody have that new thing on their phone saying we stopped 1,100 billion traffickers, or from getting, like, where does my phone always say it? Watch today, it won't say it now. No, it won't. That's right. But anyway, we stopped this, and so security for your devices, passwords, those are two of them. Anyway, there's going to be four. And then later on this fall, stay tuned for a deeper dive into that with a company called Govology, that a friend of the SBDC's, Amber Stevens, who used to be the PTAC manager for the Watertown Chamber, has introduced us to. So we're going to have a very robust training session on that for people who businesses that really need that extra layer of security. And we know it's not everyone. Everyone needs the basics, right? So stay tuned for that. We should have those dates nailed down. It's going to be after September 1st, but we'll have those nailed down in the next couple of weeks.
Great.
Awesome. Well, and I will say too, the tempting thing with cybersecurity is that, like, you only think to care about it when something bad happens to you. But the reality is that caring about it now will help your customers. Just like, people spoof your phone number, they spoof your domain name. There's some things that you might not even know are happening that could be affecting your customers. So if you don't care about it for you, care about it on behalf of your customers, because you don't want to wait till something bad happens to one of your customers.
Excellent point, Nicole.
Just throwing that in there, because I tend to ignore problems that aren't directly in front of me.
Right.
Who does that?
If you're ever going to be proactive about something, right? This is the thing to be proactive. Yeah.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
And we're also going to have, just real quickly, a Grow with Google webinar in August. So stay tuned for that. The New York SBDC has partnered with Google. We're offering a series of them, and the Watertown SBDC, Watertown Oswego SBDC, is hosting one. I believe it's August 10th, but we'll have lots. You'll be flooded with information about it between now and then, but plan to join us.
Well, you guys always have something going on, which I appreciate. And today's topic is all about kind of what people do in the summer, which is, get out there and travel. And in particular, I was just in Maine. I have another business in Maine, and whoa, did everyone show up a little earlier than we were expecting. So I thought that a topic talking about not just reaching, because we think about local businesses, we think about, okay, how do I get local people to buy from my local business? The reality is, like, you probably have people driving right by your business, or who are going to be in your general area who could be visiting your business. So I wanted to talk about some options that you might have heard of, some that you might not have heard of, because there's definitely some options there. So do you guys have favorite ways when you travel to like find cool, like local places that you should be at? What's your method when you're sitting in your hotel or your rental and you're like, okay, where am I going to breakfast? How do you guys figure that out?
Yeah, I mean, I love asking people, right? Whether it's other business owners or I'm sitting next to somebody, you know, at a restaurant or something, or strolling down the street, what are their favorite places? But it might even have been a little homework prior to, like if I'm, you know, renting an Airbnb or something, I might ask the owner, right, what their favorite places are in town, or hopefully check out their, you know, what they have to share that way.
Yeah.
And you know, also if you're in a retail store or an art gallery, you know, if you like the vibe in the retail store, I found if you ask the clerk or the owner or the manager where they like to eat, and locals love to be asked, where do the locals like to go? They pretend they don't, but they actually do. So, you know, it's true. And just be prepared to go down that road that you say to yourself, wow, this doesn't look like there's anything down at the end of this. And, you know, just be prepared to be on a little adventure. And
yeah. And something I learned from the people that I was traveling with is we'd be sitting at the restaurant and you open up Google Maps and we'd start looking around, like, what's near here? What's near where we're at? Like, is there, oh, what's this thing? And zoom in on the map point. So, you know, there's plenty of ways to get discovered. And you just heard 3 different ways that, you know, people, you know, who aren't from an area, which is us when we travel, how we find out about things. So there's
and I love what we're talking about here, because my bookstore coffee house, when I had it, was off the beaten path a bit in my town, you know. And so, you know, if someone was looking on you know, their GPS, they would find me, you know, more easily than, you know, if they didn't. And also, you know, just talking to people on the street or owners of other shops, you know, was also huge for us. So with our customers. Yeah.
Right. And I wanted to see, like, I was like, okay, I sort of remember before end times, what it was like, but like, you know, has travel actually picked up? And I found a study from the World Travel and Tourism Council that said that, you know, obviously 2020, 50% decline, right? Not surprising, but, you know, 2021, 21% increase. And I definitely anecdotally am already seeing that I think this year is going to even surpass last year, with people wanting to travel, and maybe people not necessarily wanting to air travel if at all possible, but sort of exploring within driving distance. And the great news is, like, in, you know, the area that, you know, the Watertown Oswego SBDC serves, there's plenty of great things in driving distance, and there's plenty of businesses that you guys serve that are in that area. So so I have a few like little tips here, and I have some potential examples too, but I know you guys also probably have examples from people that you've worked with. But the first thing I want to mention is, you know, and I saw a local business in Bar Harbor start doing this, holding regular events that both tourists and locals would want to go to. So there's this new like glamping campground. And what they started doing is they're doing Pints for Purpose. And on Tuesdays, they're inviting a local nonprofit to give a talk in their little lodging area. And they're donating proceeds from selling drink sales, you know, to that organization. So the locals like it because they're supporting the nonprofits. The visiting people get to learn about what's going on in the area and, you know, buy drinks that benefit. So it's kind of this win-win. You know, and it's not, like I said, it's not just for tourists. Like, I could go there as a local person and I feel welcome at this very fancy glamping resort. But, you know, and all their proceeds are supporting a local organization. So,
yeah, I mean, these are easy ways to, you know, increase awareness about your business and be out there with, you know, chambers that are already putting these events on. You know, you don't have to recreate the wheel, but just be willing and able, which does take some organization, right? And some preparing and figuring out how you want to be involved and all that. I know there's still an event in our town called the Duck Dash, which is just, it's like a 4-hour event, and it's basically little plastic ducks that go race down our little creek, but it's like a total family event that's easy to go to, whether you're a visitor, or local. And it's really a great opportunity for business to be involved. They do little tents, booths, and that kind of thing. I think that we, serve some coffee there a couple times. So, but, it's again, these are things that, we have other festivals in town too, that every business should be a sponsorship or participating somehow. Yeah.
And, a lot of the vineyards have music series, and farmers markets often have entertainment and music. And, also think, look up your local, the bigger charitable organizations, the United Way, and maybe a larger, if you have a homeless shelter, what are they doing? What events are they, often they will corral people into participating, and they won't say no if you call up and say, hey, I heard you're having this concert. Can I come and participate and donate a portion of my proceeds, and then it's a great way for you to market it yourself. So there's a lot of cross-pollination opportunities.
Yeah. And I think too, especially with the chambers, they're always going to make sure that visitors know about the event. They're going to make sure that it's all over their social media and websites, and making it easy and for visitors to find out about them. So.
Yeah.
And your tourism council, like here it's Thousand Islands Tourism Council, that actually covers all 3 counties of our service area.
Right.
They have a great newsletter that comes out monthly. They're on social media. They promote all sorts of events, from really large to, there's a strawberry shortcake dessert at the Legion on Thursday night. So definitely check those out too.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, that if you are having your own event, like an open house or live music in your store or something, or in your restaurant, that you make sure that it's, you're putting those events out there to your local chambers and tourist offices.
Yeah. And I guess what I was thinking too is I think sometimes people think they have to like throw their own music festival or something, but literally This is just like in this group's like little dining area where they already have a little pub. They're just like, oh, hey, we're having somebody come for 1 hour once a week and plug into our big screen TV and talk about a local nonprofit. It's really low key. And it doesn't, so what you create that people, locals and tourists might be interested in, it doesn't have to be some big expensive thing. It can just be something that happens regularly enough that people can learn the schedule and be talking about it with, their friends that are visiting, or with people that are stopping by their business and things like that. So
yeah, I think it's a good point. It's like let your chambers and do like the big curbstone festivals for your town. Let them do that. But if I totally agree with all of that, Nicole. Yeah, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Yeah,
right. And something I wanted to mention that I don't think a lot of people know exists is that there's something called data mapping, and if you live in a rural area, sometimes Google Maps or Apple Maps has it wrong where your business is. Mm-hmm. Like, right. They put it in Maine, we have a route, called Route 3. And so you could be at 103 Route 3 and it thinks you're over here, but really it's on the other end, and it happens all the time. And I'm not sure if it happens here as often, but there are companies, and if you need a recommendation, I do know a company that does this, but there's also a resource. It looks like on gps.gov where you can report problems affecting your mapping. Because here's the thing, what a lot of people do is they're in Google Maps, they see their pin is wrong, they drag the pin over to fix it, and then a week later they go back in and the pin is back in the spot where they moved it from. And what it is that the source data is actually wrong. So you can fix it all you want and it'll keep unfixing itself unless you get to the root of the problem. So if you drag the map pin and it doesn't work, it has resources of how to fix a map issue in a few different mapping softwares that are pretty popular. And so if you notice, because a lot of people are using, GPSs or their phones to get to places. And if they can't find you, they might try for a little bit, but they might say, you know what, I think there's a really good, sandwich somewhere else that I can find,
Yeah.
So just make sure your business shows up correctly on maps. I know a guy in Maine who does this like professionally. So I'll just mention that he exists. He gets the GPS coordinates and he puts it in all the mapping software. But it also looks like if you want to do it yourself, you can do that. So there are people who do this if you don't want to do it. But if people are consistently complaining that they can't find you, fix it at the root. And and it looks like it doesn't have to be a giant pain in the butt to do so either. So just wanted to mention that exists as a thing, especially for people in more rural areas where the mapping software just isn't mapped as well as it is more populated places. And it just can't be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It just, I mean, if you look at Google Maps, my house looks like an empty lot because it was built in 2007, but they haven't been down my 1-lane dirt road yet. So that's an excellent point, Nicole. And it goes to that whole piece of you have to do self-care, right? You got to go to the dentist, you got to get your mammogram. You have to do self-care for your business. Look at your credit score, look at your social media, look at your Google My Business. We've done a whole series on that if you want to go. And now there's another great tip about GPS because if people want to try your place and they can't find it, they're going to talk to other people about it. But what they're going to go is, I don't know where we couldn't find it. And then that discourages. So any sort of positive buzz or interest that you have can be negated really easily. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have grown addicted to having my Google Maps on and or Apple Maps or whatever one I use. That's how sophisticated I am. But I don't even know what I use. But even if I sort of know the way, I'm using it. So really, it's just another one of those business self-care things that you just have to do.
Yeah. And, you can add some verbal directions, so for example, our co-working space is inside another building in Maine. And so we have a map to location because it's a suite number, but you might drive up to this building and say like, wait a minute, there's a bunch of other. So on our verbal directions, we say like, okay, you can park here. You're going to go up these stairs. I even took a 60-second tour of like going into the door, up the stairs, turn, like I like literally walked through with a camera and just kind of sped it up a little bit so that people didn't have to watch me, heaving up the stairs. But yeah, just make it as easy as possible, because if people aren't from the area, they don't have familiarity with it like the people your local friends do. So, give them as much, overly direct them whenever you can. And you can fix the mapping issue, like fix it, because it is fixable.
Yeah. Because I have an Airbnb too. So for anybody, who's got an Airbnb, you want to make absolutely sure people can get to your place the first time around. And I even put a little extra verbiage in my description, like use this link because there are other, streets called this in the area. And, if you have any problems, I can give you specific directions. But, I think like you said, being very specific is more info, the better in certain situations.
I don't know about you guys. Do you find that when people are on vacation, it's like the brain, like, I don't know, people are just, their brains are a little bit on vacation too. They're like, I don't know. Sometimes I have conversations with people who seem very capable and I'm like, oh, I think you're just in vacation mode. So just assume they've got vacation brain, they're in a new place, they don't know their way around, and overly explain, and they'll really appreciate it, because they certainly probably won't think to ask you. They'll just think that they're silly, and they'll go to somewhere else that they can find.
That's right.
Yeah, it is that whole, like, I don't want to think too much about it. I'm on vacation, like make this easy for me. Yeah.
Now the other, and this is the only other technical thing I want to sort of mention that might be new to people, and then the other ones are like more fun and storytelling. So let's get this one. So have you guys heard of geofencing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in case people who are watching have not heard of geofencing, you can send relevant messages to smartphone users in a predefined location or geographic area. So how I've seen this done a lot is like conferences mainly. And I get that we're not all people are watching this. They're like, I have a bakery. What are you talking about? But, I've seen the use case I've seen is like, let's say that I run a conference for restaurant owners. and there's a rival conference happening in Vegas right now for restaurant owners, I could geofence the hotel that conference is happening at and take out an ad to those people about my upcoming restaurant conference. Yeah, and, will the room service person, see the ad because they're also on site? Maybe, but there's a concentration of people that are interested in this sort of thing. And what I was thinking locally, and I was like, well, I'm not sure how much money people make at farmers markets, but like you could potentially geofence something like a farmer's market or something like that. So if people were in the area, because let's face it, we've all been in a city or something, and you're a block, and then you find out later on that you were a block away from this other thing. Right. But like you have no frame of reference and you don't necessarily know that. So, maybe you could draw some people in, from right nearby to come to the farmer's market if they're physically in the area. Now, these things can be a little bit expensive to set up, which is why I brought up conferences, because usually it's big companies that do geofencing, because there's an initial setup fee, usually of a few $1,000s, plus then you run the ad. So, so for a lot of things, it might be cost prohibitive, but if you are running a big event, or if you are running this regular thing with some other businesses and could split the cost, it might be worth looking into as an idea.
Or if you know you have something of interest to a captive audience, like in our area, that would be Fort Drum, right? Soldiers. So if you do something that, you think people from outside the area or young single people would be interested in. I have heard a couple of restaurants locally who have done geofenced advertising. I'm sure there's a term for it that I don't know, and targeted Fort Drum because there's a big population there. They all, they're mobile, they have money to spend, and they're interested in this is a barbecue place, and they do authentic barbecue. So they've done very well by targeting Fort Drum folks. So
it makes sense, yeah, because
it does, right? I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, they come from everywhere, and maybe they come from someplace that has they miss the good barbecue. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit like, oh yeah, this is great. And and I did take I thought, what a lot of people don't know, and I just took this screenshot when I was last in Facebook, is you can target people who are, traveling in a certain location. That's usually an ad option when you're taking out an online ad. That's like the fourth one on the bottom there. But also you can target people, and I did this when I first opened my co-working space in Potsdam. I targeted people within 2 miles of my physical address. So you can type in a location like a town or whatever, but you can also type in, 71 Market Street, Potsdam, New York, and within 1 mile of that, because I wanted people who are very physically nearby to see that we were there, so that when they walked by, they'd be like, oh, what's that? That's new. I think I did within 1 mile, and I thought, and it was, I opened in January, so it's not like I had a lot of people, but there was like 12,000 people that passed by recently within 1 mile of my co-working space. So I took out an ad, and it was, I mean, it's always surprising because whenever you take out an ad, it gives you an estimated amount of people. You might, if you look at that kind of stuff, you might be surprised at how many people that actually applies to.
Yeah, this is kind of like making me think, especially for a restaurant or retail, if like your town, your chamber's putting on a festival for that weekend, right? And 10,000 people are going to be in your town, like you said, like I'm thinking Dickens Festival in Skinny Alice, where where my bookstore was, that would be an opportune time, right? And to have some kind of ad that goes out there with a call to action while they're there, right? Yeah.
And all these ads too, you can turn on and off during certain times of the day. So like if you wanted to run you're a restaurant and mainly you want to, you get a lot of lunch people, but you want to beef up the dinner crowd, you could run that ad the days you were open from, 3 to 5 p.m. or something like that, kind of when people are making that sort of dinner decision. So, you can also constrict not just by locale, but also by time frame. So just kind of put that in the back of your mind if you're considering that as well.
And it's not just restaurants and retail. Like I think, salons and spas, I'm on vacation. Maybe I want to get a mani-pedi or right. I don't, but I might. And, dog and pet grooming, even mechanics, garages. If there's a big, like I always think about Syracuse, they have the Syracuse Nationals, the big car show. well, how could what businesses could benefit from that? Maybe even a doggy daycare boarding place. You don't want, you're traveling with your dog, but you're going to be at the Nationals all day. You don't want them in the car. So really think creatively. And, as Nicole said, it's an investment, but you may be surprised at the sheer number of people who you can impact.
Right, I certainly was. And something, especially we're kind of in an area where people really enjoy that sort of outdoor activity kind of things. Something that a lot of people, and when Liz mentioned the salon thing, I was like, oh, this is great, is like when it rains, people are like, what do I do?
What do I do with the kids? Right.
And if you can have some information about either rainy day stuff and kind of fit your thing into it, and it doesn't have to be, maybe I don't know, maybe you're a water park and you're like, no, nobody wants to come here in the rain. Fine. I'm just saying that, like, that's rainy days and kids, what to do with my kids are questions that people will have when they visit an area pretty much no matter what. So
yeah, for sure. Good point.
Yeah. And consider, creating something that lives on your website, whether it's, I've seen a lot of rental companies do, like, oh, what to do with kids, what to do, it's raining, here's a great place to have brunch or what. I consider something that people would want to have. And I was revisiting an example. So I made this map like years ago with one of my friends of all the Wi-Fi hotspots, and I put it on my website. And so I just embedded this Wi-Fi map with all the free Wi-Fi. I haven't updated it in a while, but of the local area that my business was in. And so it doesn't have to be, like I said, that's not, that was like a couple hours of work. It wasn't my friend puts in a lot of Wi-Fi hotspots. So I was like, hey, like, tell me your clients. And he's like, oh, I can just add them. And then I added the ones I knew. And, and we made a little form on the website where people could submit their own. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. It doesn't have to be this like 25-page ebook that looks like it was made by a marketing agency or something. Just people want information. And especially if you're a local person willing to stand by information, if I don't have to like slog through TripAdvisor when people say like,
right.
the beach, I'd much rather read it from a local person, be like, hey, this is, like you guys said, like, this is where I like to eat, this is where I go, whatever. People love that. So if you can offer something like that on your website, well, guess what? Someone's now on your website.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
Offering good resources. That's
just something. And this wasn't behind. I didn't make it downloadable or anything. I just stuck it on my website. And it's gotten, because I was like, how much views? Because I kind of promoted it for a couple of years and then I stopped. It's gotten like 6,949 views. Like, it's gotten a lot of views. So, and I haven't even widely promoted it. So this is back when I was still bad at promoting myself. I might still be, but a little less so now. But
I could see something like, off like suggesting great little driving tours, or some half-day driving tours, or something like that might be a, think of things, that people would want to do in your area or see that they wouldn't normally, or
here's some great spots to take photos. Here's some, here's some cool like buildings. I did a little architecture thing where like, so people could kind of drive, because it's like, okay, it's raining, like you just want to see some cool buildings. Like, you
want to be out, but out of the rain.
Here's an example of a summer cottage. Here's an example of a of a stone barn. Here's an example of a cool I didn't put it to people's houses. I just was like, historical buildings and things like that. I didn't want people like poking around somebody's house, but just like drive by, take a look.
Factory tours, where are there any factory tours around? And if there's a big, anchor place like, I don't know, the Clayton, the Inn in Clayton, the Thousand Islands Harbor Hotel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do they have on their web? Go and look. And if there's listings on there, call them up and say, hey, I'd like you to put my candy shop on there. Or what's the criteria for getting included in this? So you have to, always be observant and see what other people are doing. And it's not just chambers. There can be merchants associations, as Erica said earlier, and even the big anchor places. So really don't limit yourself. Really think about where the people are what the proximity is to your business and how you can get them to come and see you.
Yeah.
And we might be talking about this next, but just like thinking about the businesses in your town where those customers are going there. Are they going to be your customers too? And collaborate with those businesses
Absolutely.
and sharing information. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, Erica, before we started recording, you had like kind of a cool story about how you worked with like a local hotel, I think, when you had your bookstore.
Yeah, or most, I mean, not just one, but I mean, well, it was also back when, people were still asking, where's your independent bookstore? And
they still are.
I think they still are, but maybe not to the extent. And I do believe that will come back one day. But obviously, the visitors to our town were extremely important. It was a very seasonal business, even though it was a local business too, and serving locals, like you said. Our visitors were so important to us, and so we had like a 2-sided rack card, with beautiful pictures of the store and the cafe and everything. And I mean, those were like gold to us, and I'd bring them to all the hotels. And of course, when you do that, you say, hey, we have a spot for, brochures and that kind of thing. Can we share yours as well? And doing that reciprocal thing is really important. But we did it with the hotels and made sure that they always had a fresh supply. I was usually the one that went out and did that, but also to other retailers and restaurants too, who were willing or had the space to share, information about yours. They couldn't always, not all of them could, but you'll be amazed at the participation and cooperation and collaborative efforts that way, because it behooves them too, so and I think a lot of that can be online now, especially with links and sharing links and reciprocal links, but I think it's still also super important when people are walking down a main street in a village, or, out touring around to different towns and stuff, that physical piece is there too. So
right. And don't forget grocery stores, convenience stores, laundromats, any place that has a bulletin board, tag your thing up there.
Right.
People are camping, guess what? They're using a laundromat. And after you've spent even 2 minutes in a laundromat, all you want to do is just go comfort yourself somehow, because, been there, done that. But anyway.
Yeah. And your local library is a great place to
do. And the libraries,
we did a ton of local author events, and so I was posting posters all the time everywhere. I had my places that I went. My tour. Yeah.
And don't forget your QR code on the bottom.
On posters now, hugely important. Yeah.
Hugely important. It's no longer just enough to have the Facebook symbol. Have your QR code that takes them to your Facebook page or your website or wherever you want them to go. Make sure you have that direct route.
Yeah. And I know when I opened my co-working space 7 years ago, I stopped by all the hotels, introduced myself to the person at the front desk. And then I had a little open house just for them so that they could come by. We gave them some drinks and some food, showed them around. We're like, this is what's here. And we ended up coming up with some really great like referral partners, because we have one market differentiator. It's like they're like, oh, you have corded internet. Yeah, because a lot of people need corded internet for security reasons or because they need that speed. And a lot of places have Wi-Fi now, but they don't have that corded connection. So the library and other people who know that, who are have people come in like, oh, well, you can just go here and get that. So it's those personal relationships. It takes time, and but like I said, you can either have an open house and invite them, or just take I took a whole week and I went and I introduced myself, and it was like a lot of pounding the pavement, but it was really helpful to make those initial connections. And
if you do have a merchants association, I mean, obviously chambers are important to belong to too, but if you are a retailer, restaurant, or inn or hotel, in the tourism and travel industry, then you want to make sure if you have a merchants association to join it, because that's going to be a smaller, even more collaborative group. Right.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. And the other thing I have here, and I have a couple of I just went getting more reviews so you're more visible. And I know what you're thinking. Like, obviously it's easy to link when you're online, but if you're in person, just wanted to let you that people do like make little signs, and the fact that you even care about it, and there's the QR code example, just letting people know that you're paying attention to those reviews and having something like this physically in your business, because one of the things that all these review websites do is they aggregate, right? They're like, okay, who has the best reviews?
Right.
And by having more, hopefully hopefully people aren't just coming in and having a terrible experience all the time, but like, hopefully having more good reviews, you're going to become more visible online generally. And you can either send people to like one place, or like Liz was saying a second ago, you can send people to maybe a page that has, maybe you're on TripAdvisor, Google, and I don't know, bestinsintheworld.com or something, like, I don't know, something specific to your industry. There are, So
I would also, just take this moment too to refer people back to the Monday marketing that we did on handling reviews and everything, and getting more reviews and handling bad reviews and all of that. So that's on our YouTube library too, because it's so important. Especially with your
And if you have that mobile pet grooming business, right? And if you have a shelter manager or owner with a review, think of the weight that carries, right? Or a breeder or whatever. And if you are a garage and you want people to bring their RVs, make sure you're on AAA, or the Better Business Bureau, or whatever trade group that you're a member of that could possibly benefit you. And if you don't know what one is, or you don't know how to, give the SBDC a call. We'd be happy to have a brainstorming session with you, and really try and figure that out. And that's your SBDC anywhere, not just, although you should call us first, but any SBDC will be happy to help you with that. What are the trade groups in your area, and what are the free listings, and we can help with all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And the thing with the reviews is that ask for them with a sign like I just showed a second ago, but also ask periodically on social media. Like, usually when I start working with clients, I'll just periodically say, share a couple of their good, thanks, Debbie, we appreciate you bringing your family, every year to visit us, click here to see more of our Google reviews. And then we'll send them. And we find that when we do that, their reviews will increase exponentially, because they weren't telling them before, how to, we've just made it super easy. All you have to do is click on it and leave your review. You don't have to go on TripAdvisor or Yelp. You don't have to search for the business. You don't have to click on it. We've saved them a bunch of steps. So if you make it easy for people, you don't have to say it all the time, but just even like once a week or something, periodically telling people, hey, if you, please tell us about your experience, click here to do so. You'd be surprised. With some clients, we like double their reviews in 1 year, and we can bring them from like number 3, whatever on TripAdvisor, to number 1. Sometimes that can really help the tipping point of some.
Remember ease, and not to ask for too much information. I stayed at a Hilton this past weekend, and I actually had a really good experience there. And so I wanted to give a good review. And then there was one little thing that I wasn't crazy about, kind of thing. And so but then it was like, 4 pages in, I'm like, okay, this, make sure you're not asking for too much information, or there's a way for your people to, your customers to leave a short review.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or short, not too much feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And we're starting, and Liz mentioned this a second ago too, but just know there's Yahoo and Bing Local, there's Google My Business, there's all these free places where you can have a free business listing. And it's a matter of just like filling out the form.
Right.
Typically you have to verify your business, and what they'll do is send you a postcard. So if you check, both the YouTube channel and the Facebook page now have playlists. So some of these, so rather than having to see all of the videos, we did a video about Google My Business specifically a few months ago. So it's by, you know, it's by subject matter, so it should be a little bit easier to peruse the videos both those places now. But yeah, and it's free, and yes, you will get calls from people yelling at you that your listing is out of date. Don't worry, I get them too. And I do this professionally. So I always laugh when it's like, your listing is dangerously out of date. I'm like, oh, really? Because like I actively manage listings, like, you know, just part of my work. So just know that they're calling everybody and yelling at them. But it is worth a few spammy phone calls for the amount of exposure you'll get. Because I think, in Liz, when we were doing it, I think the average business gets like 1,700 views a month on Google My Business. It's a surprising number. It's over 1,000. I remember. And this, you know, they're averaging, they're not just looking at a bunch of touristy places, they're looking at the average business. So make that visible so that when I'm sitting in the restaurant and I'm looking and I pull up Google Maps to see what's nearby, you actually have a chance of coming up because, you know, you're listed there.
And I think that they make it fairly easy, like we've talked about before.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty user friendly. So
it is, because they want to sell you ads.
Right.
So they're going to make it but just take the free one. It's fine. Like, just take the free one. You don't have to buy anything.
Yeah. Take the free one. Yeah. And be sure that if you do take the free one, or especially if you pay for it, what are the unique pieces? Like if you have vegan options, if you have gluten-free options, those are the things. Like if you have a vegan kid or a gluten-free kid, like you don't want to mess around and get your other hungry people into a restaurant where there's no gluten-free options. Or they say, well, we can serve you that hamburger not on a bun, but if someone really has celiac or a severe problem, that's not okay. So really get anything that's unique. And if you don't know, if you're like, well, I don't know what that, ask your employees, ask your customers, ask your trusted advisors, ask the SBDC. 5 minutes on the phone with us describing your business, we'll be able to find stuff that makes you stand out. Like if you're that garage, we can work on fifth wheel campers, right? Those super high ones that not every garage can. So what is it that you do that sets you apart from others in the area, that you think you do well, or especially a unique good product or service that you offer? And then if you get them in on the uniqueness, and then you clinch it by offering them great service, great food, great nail polish colors, whatever it happens to be, then that's a twofer. And that's when you get people saying, you know, my car broke down, but I had this great experience, or we had the most amazing meal in a gluten-free restaurant, or whatever. So that's, you know, you have to trip people's trigger, and they will respond.
Mm-hmm. And just as a little note, and when you're filling this out, obviously there's a place where people can leave narrative reviews, but also as a business, you can. Google has 350 attributes that you can add to your business. Things like free parking, vegan options, free Wi-Fi, handicap accessible, you know, women owned, you know, so
those are going to be searchable.
Exactly. Right. And because you're using their attributes, and if someone is searching for, you know, women owned business near me, if you've designated yourself with Google's little attribute as women owned, you're going to come up in the search. So, you know, do fill out those attributes. It's really helpful.
And charging stations for electric cars. That may not be a huge deal now, but it is only one trajectory, and that is up. So if you have one at your business, or close to your business, or in the mall that you know are a tenant in, think about that one, because that we're going to see that just increase and increase over the next couple of years.
Right.
Hilton I stayed at had them.
Oh, nice. and you were aware of that. How were you aware of that? You just saw that.
I'm just starting to notice that, you know, like they're, you know, and there was a car plugged in, you know, in one of them, and I just happened to notice it.
And Erica doesn't even own an electric car, and I happen to know that for a fact. So
not yet.
Not yet. I know, not yet, right? Yeah. So not only what you offer now, what you're thinking about coming soon, right? Don't be shy about what's happening this fall or whatever. So you got to get the word out there. They don't know about you. They can't patronize you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you know, we just talked about this just a second ago, and this was kind of basically, if you have something special, people will travel to see it. And I wanted to show it. It's so funny. I follow this woman on TikTok, and I always forget the name of her business, but it's a plus size fashion brand. And her whole thing is you got to wear the store where you got to be to something to do something. And she's in Charlotte, North Carolina or South Carolina. Juicy Body Goddess. That's what it is. But she's had people come because she specializes in a plus sized clothing, you know, she has this very specialty kind of stuff in her store. It's all really fun. She's had people come from multiple states away just to go to her store. So if you have something special and you're good about talking about it, people will travel to come see it.
Yeah.
So
and by the way, we have a tutorial on Facebook Lives too, just saying, and TikToks, and using social media to promote the unique aspects of your business. So there's that too.
Right. Because I mean, yeah, I've traveled a couple of hours to have a novel experience. I'm sure you guys have too, you know? And
absolutely.
Yeah. And the more people that know about the novel experience that your business has to offer, the more likely that they'll travel to come see it. So I mean, that's pretty much all I had. Do you guys have anything else before we wrap up the broadcast? All right. Well, so, you know, we're headed into tourist season here. So,
yes, we are.
You know, think about how your business can be more visible to travelers in the area. Hopefully this broadcast was useful. If so, feel free to share it. If you want to come back and finish it, if you're watching, you know, there's a whole playlist, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, for all the past Marketing Mondays, as well as the other great resources that the SBDC has put on and recorded are also on those channels as well.
And if you have a marketing question, let us know, and we'll do a show about it.
Oh yeah,
we're flexible and adaptable.
Any ideas? Any ideas?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're always taking ideas, and the SBDC also does free consultations with smart counselors in the Jefferson. Wait, what are the counties? Lewis and
Oswego
counties.
The J-Lo counties. That's how you remember.
So if you're in a J-Lo county watching this now, set up a completely free consult with the SBDC. They give great advice. They have great resources. Thanks, Dawn, for watching.
Oh, thanks, Dawn.
Thanks for great resources. Always with the SBDC, great resources. Listen, Erica, thanks so much for joining. And
thanks, Nicole, as always.
Nicole. Yeah, and we'll see you guys next week for another marketing topic to be
2
determined.
weeks, right? Because next Monday's 2 weeks. Next Monday's the holiday.
Yes.
And happy 4th, everybody.
Yes, absolutely. All right. See you in 2 weeks. All
right.
Have a great holiday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.